the leaders of China, Japan, and Korea had a first meeting collectively in a number of years. The original idea, of course, when the process began, was to develop a special trade zone or free trade zone among the three countries and collaborate in economic development and trade. And China is the biggest trading partner of both South Korea and Japan. There are a lot of things which can smooth things out, enhance efficiency, and create better supply chains, as well as creating a bigger market for everybody. Now, it hasn't happened for so many years. Why? Because of U.S. pressure. U.S. is trying to isolate China politically and economically. Politically is to create a little NATO in Asia, bringing Japan and South Korea into the fold and bringing AUKUS, the Anglo-Saxon groups, into the fold, and to isolate China politically. And they're doing everything they can to try to do that. But on the economic front, they were able to get Japan and Korea to follow their footsteps for a little while. But it's becoming clear, increasingly clear to Korea and Japan that they cannot disengage with China. Chinese market is significant, the supply chain is complete, and many intermediate products are dependent on the Chinese producers. This is for both Korea and Japan. So, out of necessity, they have no choice but to try to separate the economic from the political. This is interesting because what we have is also a situation arising in Europe. No matter what they say in Europe, especially some of the less experienced, less sophisticated politicians, or those who toe the US line blindly, increasingly, they also find that they cannot disengage with China. You want to disengage from the biggest consumer market in the world in terms of the rising middle class in China? Well, good luck. You're no longer competitive on a global basis. I think they're beginning to increasingly recognize that that's not the way to go. We see what happened with the French and the Germans. The French finance minister very clearly said it was important for France not to initiate another trade war with China. And there's no question that their economic well-being is tied to the Chinese economy. And the Germans' export-driven economy is certainly dependent very much on the Chinese import market. Politically, they may continue to harp on the U.S. themes against China, but economically, disengagement is seriously going to damage them. I don't think the Europeans, in real terms, will actually follow that path of the U.S. In fact, the efforts of the U.S. protectionism in stopping fines, stopping anti-dumping duties on the Chinese products, and now with new custom duties to try to block the entry of a number of Chinese products which are cheaper, more efficiently produced, and of higher quality than anything that the U.S. can make. Now, will the European follow this? It appears now increasingly, aside from von der Leyen, that is in close step with the U.S. Most European countries are beginning to discover that they cannot follow closely the U.S. position any further because this will start to really damage their economies and the livelihood of their own people.